The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, staff, management, or advertisers.
Coming to you on stations coast to coast, it's the Makin It radio show with your hosts, self-made millionaires Tommy Runfola and Todd Williams. Tommy Runfola, founder and president of one of America's top technology, consumer products, and media companies. Author, investor, and National Entrepreneur of the Year nominee. Tommy has worked with 5 U.S. presidents and vice presidents. Todd Williams, founder and CEO of Inc. Magazine's 2013 fastest growing food and beverage companies in America. A former NBC TV personality and Harvard Business alumnus. Makin It is the source for success stories and in-the-trenches information that outlines a roadmap to the American dream. And now, here's Tommy and Todd.
Here we are today, Todd, and we're making it.
That's right.
And, you know, Todd, I never get tired of hearing that opening, and we've done a few things, haven't we?
Yes, we've come a long way.
Built some companies, made a few dollars.
Yeah.
It's been a good life so far.
Yeah. Hasn't come easy, but, you know, we stuck to it.
Well, it's a privilege to share it with America. So, Brittany, what's going on today?
All right, guys, we have an awesome show lineup today. On our Makin It Show Buzz segment, we are going to be featuring one of my favorite shows of all times, Mad Men. Then we have an amazing interview with a contestant who was just recently on The Voice. He was the 3rd runner-up on season 7, and he was actually on Adam Levine's team. Oh. So we're going to be discussing his, venture on that show and making it on that show.
We didn't go on celebrity.
Exactly.
We are, of course.
We're getting big time,
something.
man. I'm telling you. We're
The
creeping
Voice,
up on that.
We've had Shark Tank guests.
Yeah.
We've had people from The Voice. This is big
and now
time.
they
We
can
them
say
boys.
they've been on Making It.
We them boys, except for you. Brittany.
Right,
You're the girl.
exactly. Okay,
Well-
anyway, finishing my lineup. We're not done with the preview yet.
Now, Mad Men, is this about some of your old boyfriends? Or what is this?
Yeah. That's why I hang
okay.
with Todd. He's
All
my
right.
bodyguard.
Uh-huh.
All right. Then finally, when we finally get to Making It or Breaking It at the end of this show, we're going to be discussing the NBA and resting some of the top players.
Making It Show Buzz.
Show Buzz segment, Mad Men, not my ex-boyfriends, but one of my favorite shows. Now, I started watching this show pre-Netflix. Well, I mean, Netflix was out, but it wasn't super cool yet. So I watched all the DVDs. I was binge watching DVDs on this show. I watched the director, producer, writer, everything behind the scenes. And what I love the most about this show is that it really focuses in on the age when advertising and marketing went from something that was very utilitarian to something that became entertainment in and of itself.
Yes.
And so I love the medium of marketing, of advertising as entertainment and content creation that is, spreading a message.
Right.
And it has a utilitarian purpose, but it's also extremely entertaining. So I love watching, that turn of that decade when that was happening.
And the decade we're talking about is the late 1950s, early
50s
1960s.
into 60s. Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And it went to the show ended in the 70s.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's
Yeah.
mainly in the 60s.
And it's cool
Yes.
to see all the costumes from those eras. That was another huge part of the show.
Well, there's one thing that I really took to heart when I saw it, and my wife was amazed. I can name every car in the show from the 1950s.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the one I watched, there was a 1959 Oldsmobile in the car.
Oh, yeah.
In the show.
And that was
Really?
on a side note, that was another big part of the show where everything that the producer did was so authentic. He wanted it to be everything, authentic from that time that he grew up in. And so a lot of people were fans of the show watching it saying, oh, I remember that little figurine in the bathroom. My grandma
Right.
had one of those. Or,
Yes.
the cars were a huge part of it too.
Well, and how the secretaries were portrayed and the chauvinism.
Well, and how
Right.
it changed over that decade.
Right.
How, women coming into more power, especially in the workplace, how that evolved over that decade too.
Well, I think our younger listeners should know that this was before the internet. There really was a time before the internet.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a time before political correctness was in the fabric of our culture. And so a lot of the things that are portrayed seem kind of raw and chauvinistic, and that's how America kind of was.
Right.
One of the episodes that I saw, the people in the office, the ad executives. There was a civil rights demonstration going on outside on the sidewalk, and they were being cute, and they were getting paper bags and filling them with water and dropping them on the civil rights demonstrators outside, and this was meant to convey a message of the time that civil rights, as we know it today, really did not exist in the 1950s and 60s.
Yeah, very much.
Yes.
Right. Also, it does a great job at capturing the period, but from an entrepreneur standpoint, or someone just aspiring to be successful in any field, if you watch nothing on this show, watch Don Draper's pitches.
Yes.
When he pitches to the clients.
Yes.
Oh yeah, great.
It is an education in itself.
He would win on Shark Tank. He's a great example of how to get to the point and get to the money.
Oh yeah, he's beyond winning on that.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, and how he understands the consumer, the customer, and people,
and what they value.
It is a education all by itself.
On one of the episodes that I watched, they were pitching a tobacco company, and actually, it wasn't their initial pitch. They were a regular customer, and they had to come up with a new pitch. And this is a time when all of the medical evidence was coming in negative about tobacco.
Right.
And the thing that he grabbed on, that was going to be the heart of the pitch, was not trying to discredit the medical evidence and so on, but that they went through a toasting procedure for the Lucky Strike cigarettes.
Right.
And that he was going to say, well, we're different from our competitors because we toast the tobacco.
To make it seem healthier.
Yeah, make it seem healthier. It was really great.
I really like, on that note, I really like the insight into when your job is a marketer, it's a very fine balance between the information that you're trying to convey in an advertisement, in something that you're marketing, versus what the actual consumer is going to understand, and even more so, what they're actually going to value.
Right.
And so I like seeing that kind of, little skirmishes happen in the meetings, and especially when he's pitching to the heads and the executives of these companies, where they think it should be more straightforward. You're advertising a cereal. You should say it has vitamins and minerals. It helps your kids grow strong and, have good healthy bones and everything like that. And then Don Draper is usually the one that comes in and bursts their bubble and says, okay, listen, that's not what the consumer actually cares about. And then he gets to the heart of, I've been watching this consumer. Here's what moms actually care about. Here's what they want to feel when they buy their children breakfast cereal.
Exactly.
So I think that's just a great example of what it really is like to be in advertising and marketing, and all those different angles that you're trying to juggle, and all those people you have to please and sell, in addition to selling your product.
Yeah, in the case of the cigarette pitch, he was saying that people want to smoke. They love to smoke. It showed him at the beginning of the program, and he was in a restaurant, and everybody was smoking in this restaurant. As a matter of fact, in the background, they were playing the 1950s song "Smoke Gets in Your Eyes," and he asked the waiter what he smoked and why, and the brand and so on. And what he said, well, why do you smoke? There's medical evidence out there that it isn't good for you. And he says, I just love to smoke. And so he wrote that down. I love to smoke. And he realized that that's the mindset of people. And really all they needed was an excuse to go out and do what they love to do and make them feel not so bad about it.
Right. There was the one pitch he did about women's lipstick and what lipstick colors they want and all this stuff, and this company's having such a hard time selling it. And he comes in and he says that what they're actually buying is a way to mark their man.
Ooh.
Like this is my lipstick or whatever, and this is my color, and this marks my man or whatever. He gets so deep into what people are really buying.
Right.
Also, the show is it can get very emotional. I mean, some of the pitches he comes in, he makes these hardened business people start crying.
Yes.
Because he gets so deep in what they want, like the Kodak slide projector.
Yeah, the carousel that was showing pictures. And
they weren't selling. It was horrible, doing horrible sales.
Mm-hmm.
He comes in and he tells them about memories.
Oh,
and he's getting his own self-emotional.
And nostalgia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what people have to realize is that the business of sales is about connecting to consumer needs.
Right. And connecting emotionally.
And deep.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so the avoidance of going that deep is what stops a lot of people from making a lot of money.
Right.
Because that's where when you connect with people, you connect to their wallets.
Right.
And you have to be willing to go deep enough to get that connection in their wallet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in the 1950s, I don't know if there was even a field called consumer psychology.
Because on the show they bring one in.
Okay.
That was one of my favorite episodes.
Well, it was just new.
It was
new. It was new.
Freud
but she was a psychologist, but it was new for a psychologist to be applied to something business and for advice
Freud
to be taken
and
seriously.
Edward Bernays, they were starting at the time.
Yes. Well, in any event, I think one of the hardest things for people to learn is that it's really not hard to sell once you learn to observe people and you learn that you have to connect to them emotionally, and anybody can connect to any other human being emotionally. It doesn't require a PhD from a certain college and so on. It really is a very basic capability that all humans have to sell.
Right.
And when you really get down to it, isn't that where the money is in businesses? Mm-hmm. Being able to connect emotionally, get people to pull out their wallet. They don't even know why they're pulling it out, but they're buying based on a pitch, if you will.
Well, let's talk about that. Why then is sales, why does it seem that sales is the hardest thing on earth in a business?
It's fear.
It just never stops.
It's fear. And the other thing is that I think in order to connect with people emotionally, you have to be vulnerable yourself. You have to be open. And people really don't want to be vulnerable and open to other human beings.
Well, and I think part of the vulnerability is you have to identify what your need is in that situation. Like Todd, like what you were saying about Don Draper and the carousel of pictures. To get to that answer, he was looking through his pictures of his children growing up, his memories, old photos of him as a child, his parents, and it was actually making him emotional and making him cry and getting him into that nostalgic state. So it's like, know thyself first, and then know the person sitting across from you, your target audience. There's a lot of introspection in knowing yourself and being vulnerable with yourself emotionally to see what you want in that situation, what you would want to be pitched, what would make you break emotionally, and take out your checkbook and write that check, hand over that cash, swipe that credit card. So Tommy, to your point, I think it involves you being emotionally vulnerable and honest with yourself and looking really deep in yourself first, and then saying, okay, is there a large enough audience out here that this also connects with, that also feel the same way and share these same feelings and thoughts?
And in the businesses that many people are in, there's a lot of competition. There are other people selling the same or similar products that they are. So at the end of the day, people are not making decisions based on facts and products. They are making,
or what they should do.
Or what they should do. They are making emotional decisions on who they want to deal with, the person they want to buy from.
Right.
I just find it an ongoing, it's just amazing how, I bet if you talk to 1,000 business owners listening to us out there, that 999 would say they have problems with sales.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
Salespeople sell. And they're not even doing it.
And everybody wants to pass the buck, don't they?
They're not even doing it.
Everybody wants to pass the buck to somebody else.
It's not like they're doing it and making mistakes. They're like, no one wants to even do it.
Venture into it.
Every small businessman should first be a salesman of his own product.
Absolutely.
Every large businessman too.
Of course, but particularly in a small business, because you have to wear many hats.
That's how you get big.
That should be your first. That should be your first hat that
That's
you put on.
That's the only way to get big.
Being able to sell your own product.
And like you said, selling is actually coming down to paying attention to the other person.
Right.
And connecting them emotionally where they buy.
And being honest.
And so clearly that's some type of work that people are avoiding like the plague, and why so many businesses are having problems with sales.
Yes.
We'll talk more about that this year.
And they heard the answer here today.
Yes. You listen to Making It with Tommy and Todd. We'll be right back.